I shouldn't hear any talking while I'm talking. The first one, it says, a survey in a homeroom class explored the relationship between gender and participation in the school band. So here's the table. They're asking one question about that table.
Right.
They said, which is a reasonable conclusion to draw from this data? So I need to figure out which ones are not true so that I could cross them out. The first one says there are more band members than non-band members.
Cross out.
How many people are in the band?
12.
And how many
Wow.
people are not in the band?
14.
So that's not true. Cross it out. You need to go get water.
Yeah.
You okay? There are more boys than girls in the class. Are there more boys than girls?
No.
No.
Let's see.
Cross out.
Among the boys, so they're only talking about the boys. There are more boys in the band than not in the band. Are there more boys in the band than not in the band?
No.
D.
It's less.
Guys, more than half of the band members in the class are girls. So in the band, there's 8 out of 12. That's more than half. So my answer would be D. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, go down to the ticket out the door. So, ticket out the door is right here. So this is on your quiz. This vocabulary, a lot of people got incorrect on your quiz. If I said, Amaya, write in the margins of your paper, what does that mean?
Side out.
The sides, the outer sides, right? So marginal frequencies means the outside or the totals of your table. But before I do that, I need to fill in the blanks. So Michael, what are my blanks?
192.
Yep.
25.
Which one? 25.
72.
72.
17.
72.
Oh. 72. What? One.
Is that 72 at the very top?
Yeah. Does everyone know how to get each of those? Yeah. You just add them and subtract. It's like the totals right there. So I added this plus that to get my 72. Same thing right here. Same thing right there.
That was 192.
Yeah. So I added all these up and got 192. So out of those, which numbers would be the marginal frequencies?
Everything except the totals.
So all the outside, right? So all these ones
Oh, yeah.
are my marginal because they're on the outside. So my numbers that are in green are the marginals. So 192, 158, 25, 72, 104, 72, 121. So all the outsides besides both of the things being total are your marginal. This is going to be on your quiz today. And Miss Thompson, how many people from the other class asked me for help when they got the vocabulary? All but two. All but two. Everybody didn't listen when they were talking about the vocabulary, and they all wanted help when it came to the quiz.
We got to put it on.
So remember that if I said this person doesn't have any joints in their body, what would they look like?
Blob.
They would look like a blob, right?
There.
Joints are what make up your body. So joint frequencies are your main data. It's the data all in the center. So all these numbers right here are called your joint frequencies. So joint frequencies are all the numbers in the middle. They make up your data. Conditional is what we learned last class. So if I said like, Eridanus, you can use your phone under one condition. That means in like in this situation, right? Conditional is talking about within a situation. So a conditional frequency would be like this. In the freshman group, so they're only talking about the freshman group,
Right.
what percentage of students agree that it should be mandatory for all students to participate in sports? So conditional means out of a certain group. What group are they doing it out of? The freshmen. How many are in the freshman group? 72. So it's out of 72. How many think it should be mandatory?
53.
53. How would I find that percent?
72 divided by 50. No.
53 divided by 72. Put that into your calculator. And then how do I get it to a percent? press second,
Second
and
and
then press. What do you, which one do you end up getting? A, B, C, or D? D. Does this make sense? This is what we learned last class before you guys left.
Well, how you did
So, you do second, and then that's end press.
Oh, the backwards.
Yeah. Cool. This last one is saying what percentage is greater, the percentage of brown-haired students with blue eyes or the percentage of red-haired students with brown eyes? So if it's out of the brown-haired students, that means that's going to be my denominator, right? All of the brown-haired students. How many brown-haired students do I have?
23.
28.
28.
Oh, that's an 8.
What's brown eye?
Oh,
Oh,
So this is hair color. So brown, 28. How many of those have blue eyes?
21.
8, right? There's the blue-eyed, brown-haired people. Because it's 8 out of the 28. How do I get that as a percent? Hold on.
How do you divide that?
Divide them.
28.5.
28.5. Then how do I get, the next one says the percentage of red-haired students with brown eyes. So out of the red-haired students, how many red-haired students do I have?
3. No, 7.
7. Out of those 7, how many have brown eyes?
3.
3. This is a conditional frequency, like depending on like what condition they're in. What does that end up being?
0.4.
And what's that as a percent?
4%.
40? Yep. Which one is bigger, 40% or 28.5%?
40.
40%.
Red hair.
So when I would explain why, I would explain that 40% of the red-haired students have brown eyes, as opposed to 28.5% of brown-haired students have blue eyes. Just compare. Cool. All right, so we're gonna go on to the next part of this lesson. We already learned this last class, which is this right here. So you're going to your packet for today. The last type of frequency, we did marginal, we did conditional, joint. Today we're doing relative. And so relative is related to the total. So maybe put that somewhere on there because a lot of people forgot that. Relative is related to the total. Write that on your notes. So write that at the top. Relative is related to the total. So before it was like out of this many people.
It said they are sorry for the noise.
So relative frequencies are shown in decimals, and it's always based on the total. So all you have to do to find your relative frequency is divide the number divided by the total, this number right here. So to find this relative frequency, if I'm finding how many males in this survey right here played soccer, I would take this number, right, 8, out of how many people were surveyed?
80.
80. What decimal do you end up getting? Put that into your calculator.
10%.
What do you end up getting?
10%.
10%. We're going to keep it as decimals because relative frequency is actually usually shown as a decimal. So 0.10. That's all you're doing for every single one.
Oh,
So you're taking every one of these numbers. You don't have to write this down, but all you're doing is taking each number, 10, divided by the total, which was 80. What do you end up getting for that? Do 10 divided by 80. You did 80 divided by 10.
0 divided by 1. No, 0.125.
I got,
Is it?
125.
Yeah. 0.125. You're right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna give you like a minute or two I'm gonna cold call on you. So make sure that you have you don't need to write the fraction if you don't want to, but you just need to know what the decimal is. All we're doing is we're taking each new number and dividing it by the total, which is 80 in this scenario.
So we just put 125 over 80.
Which one?
You put 125 over 80.
This? No, this was 10 over 80.
Oh, okay.
Like this one will be 12 over 80.
Oh,
And then
That'd be
whatever-
12?
32.5.
Well, I'm gonna cold call you guys. So you,
Amy just asked.
no, the total, this number right here, this is your
Oh,
total.
Sean somewhere. That's what it was.
So it's always divided by the same number. Just retreat. All right, Divine, what's this one? This one. Beautiful. Irma, what's this one? Amai, what's this one?
0.525.
Good. Sean, what's this one?
How do you get those?
You just do the number that it gives you divided
Can
by.
you follow me?
Right, so what is this one?
It's 0.175.
Can you say again?
0.175.
Beautiful. Kayla, what's the next one? Oh, you didn't quite get there. Jeremiah, what's the next one?
0.075.
It's
Wow.
0.075.
Right.
That's what I said.
Right.
There we go. Gabrielle, what's the next one?
0.175.
Michael, what's the next one?
0.05.
Hugo, what's the next one? Derek, what's the next one?
0.275.
Valeria, what's the next one? Joe, what's the next one?
0.2.
Not that one. You're just doing the same exact thing. You're dividing each of those numbers above divided by 8. 32.5, you said? And then Ariana, what's this one right here? You don't know? Oh, and do you get this one?
2.
0.2.
0.2. And then this is just 1 divided by, this will, or 80 divided by 80, which is 1. This will always be 1 for my relative.
Cool.
Does this make sense? All you're doing is you're taking each of those parts and dividing by the total. That's relative frequency, all related to the total. The last part of what we're doing is they're giving us the relative frequency. We are getting the number. So this is the part that a lot of people are confused about, right, Ms. Thompson?
Coming up.
A lot of people are confused.
You
So
look confused.
this one they're giving us. Now it's the opposite.
Don't you multiply?
Kind of. But first, what did you guys do to get these decimals? What did you divide?
Decimals or total?
You divided what divided by the total?
Decimal.
Like you divided the part out of the total to get the decimal, right?
Yeah.
Or the probability. That's what they bang on. All right, so to get what we just did, we took the part, right, Deborah? We took the part divided by the total to get the decimal. That's what you guys just did 100 times. Now they're giving us different parts of it. We don't know, these are the decimals. They already found the decimals for us. We don't know what the numbers are. So this one's saying if 8 females like SUVs, where would that go? 8 females like SUVs. Not the total
The
though.
females.
The females who like, right here, there you go, females and SUVs. There's my 8. Because 8 females, right, Kayla? Like SUVs. That being said, I know that my part is 8, right? 8 out of the total, I'm just gonna put X because we don't know what our total is. And what decimal is that one? 0.20. So first we need to figure out what the total amount of people are. So I need to figure out what that X x's. We already got the part, which is 8, which they tell us right here. How do I get rid of that x from that denominator? What do I do? Both sides.
Multiply.
Yay, multiply.
We gotta do this.
And so you end up getting 8 equals 0.20x. Then how do you get x by itself?
I thought you said
Divide.
we was doing data.
This is data. And what do you end up getting? What's 8 divided by 0.20?
40.
Yep. 40 equals x. That means when we just did that, that means there's 40 people total. I'm going to put 40 right here. Does that make sense? So the part out of the total is the decimal that you end up getting. So I just plugged in what I knew and found what my total was. So my total, what?
What's it say under decimal?
Probability, but I wrote prob. So the first question says, how many males like SUVs? Where's males? And that like SUVs, which number are they referring to?
30.
You went down.
30.
That's all I wrote.
I can't see.
Oh, there you go. So when you look at the table, 0.30 were the males who liked the SUVs, right? So 0.30 are the males that like SUVs. 30% of the males. What does of mean? What's that word mean? Add, subtract, multiply, multiply. Of means multiply. If you're not going to remember that, I'm just going to fill in what I know from this.
What did they say? What's the sum of?
Sum means what? Add. Sum, it's at, because it's of different, it's different versions of. Sum, yeah. So how many males like SUVs? So we need to figure out what our part is. We know how many total there are. How many total are there? 40. Out of 40. And we know the decimal. What decimal are we looking for?
Little like SUV.
Which is what?
0.30.
Good. 0.30. How would I get x by itself?
You gotta do that thing, Virginia.
Which is what?
You put that,
We divide 40.
you put 40 right there.
No, you gotta put the X on each side. You don't
No, you gotta put 40 on each side.
Multiply 40 to each side.
Oh my god.
What is 0.30 times 40? Put it in your calculator. 0.30 times 40.
12.
Beautiful.
Oh, I put the line. Oh, shoot.
Let's go next one. How many females are there total? How many females are there total? So let's try this little formula right here.
We know this is
Too big. Too big.
No,
Only over 12.
So we have part out of total equals the decimal, or probability. So, how many females are there total? So where are the females total? Which number are they talking about?
40. No.
40 is my total.
45. 0.55.
0.55, right? That's my probability, so I'm going to put that right here. What's the total? We already found the total. What is it?
40.
40. And I need to find what that part is. How do I get that by itself? How do I get x by itself?
40 on both sides.
Yes. So do you guys see? You're basically doing the same thing each time. We're always just multiplying the total by the decimal. What's 0.55 times 40?
22.
22.
Okay.
How many total people were in the survey? 40. How many of those people are females who like sports cars? Where's the females who like sports cars?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Brian is being checked out.
He's in, okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
See, 205.
All right, how many people are females who like sports cars? Where is that? Which number? 0.35. And all we're doing is we're multiplying it by the total. What's the total? total people? 40. That's all you're really doing. You can set it up like this each time, but all you're doing is multiplying the decimal times the total people. What is 0.35 times 40? What is it? 0.35 times 40.
14.
How many males are there total? What am I going to do with this males? 0.45 multiplied by 40. What do you get? Is it 18? How many males like sports cars? So what am I multiplying? 40 times this right here. Males who like sports cars. 0.15 times 40. What are you getting? Does everybody understand how to get this? Because this is part of your quiz today. So remember, we need to make sure like we ask questions. So like while we're going over it, it shouldn't just be like, oh, well, I don't get it. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to pay attention. You need to make sure you're raising your hand and being like, hey, I don't get why we multiply it. How do we get the total? Or I don't understand how we multiply it to get this answer. Did you guys get the very first part where we just divided the numbers divided by the total?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just work on the second part. So you're going to the last page in your packet. Very, very last page. Looks like this. No, it doesn't. Looks like that. So you guys are going to the very, very last page of your packet. And so this is basically the same thing that we just practiced. So they gave us the decimals. They're giving us one thing right here. Given that 16 females liked winner the most, where would I write that 16? Where do I write 16? Yep, right here. Does everyone get that part? I found females who like winner, and they told me it's 16. So I wrote a 16 right next to where the females and the winner. Everyone got that, right? Cool. All that I read this. It says given that 16 females like winner the most, I saw winner, I saw females, and I know that's 16. So no matter what, I don't need to read anything else. I need to figure out what is the total. So what is the formula that we just came up with? What was it? Blank over good. Part over the total equals the decimal. So we know our decimal. What is our decimal? What is our decimal for the one I just came up with? 0.20. Does everyone get that part? 0.20. That's what they gave me for that one. I need to find the total. I'll just put an X for it. And how many females like winner? 16. Does that make sense how I set that up? Cool. Then, how do I get X by itself? What do I need to do? Multiply X on both sides. When I do that, I get 16 equals 0.20x. Then what do I do? Divide. And what do you end up getting? 80. Is it 80? Yeah. Cool. That means 80. That means my total is 80. So right over here, my total, I know, is going to be 80. That's the total amount of people that were surveyed. Now all you're doing to get each of the numbers, you just multiply the total times each of those decimals. So like right here, it says how many females liked fall. So how many females liked fall, I need to figure out where is the fall column and where is females. Which number would I be looking at? 0.10, right? All you're doing with that number is multiplying the total, and I showed you why. But you don't need to set it up as an equation every time. I could just know, okay, I multiply that by the total amount of people. How many people are there total? Yeah, so you're just multiplying it by 8. What do you end up getting? 8. Perfect. So this answer would be 8.
So you can do that for the second one?
Yep, like I go, how many males like spring? I go to males in spring, which is right there, right? What number you can always multiply by?
80.
Exactly.
So we would multiply all the numbers in there, like not the joints, I guess, by the total.
Yep. You can multiply the entire thing by 80. You can go for each one, or just the ones they're asking for. So like this one, they might not ask for all of them, but they might. Usually not. What do you end up getting? What is 0.25 times 80?
So the first one is what's the first one?
You don't need to do all of them. You could just go in order of what they're asking. Like how many people like spring? What number would I be looking at?
Total on is 0.30.
Yeah, this one, right? 0.30. Times, what's it always multiply by? 80. Do you guys get like how to get that 80?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's the hardest part. That's it. Okay, what do you end up getting? What is 0.30 times 80? What is it?
24.
24.
So you do all that math stuff, like on the other one, just find total, and then.
Yep, and then you can just multiply. Honestly, to get the total, all you have to do is divide the two numbers. That's really what you're doing. So if you want to remember it that way, to get your total, like right here, all you had to do is 16 divided by 0.20, and you would have gotten it. So basically, you're always either multiplying or dividing the decimal in the number. What about how many people like winner? Where do I find the decimal for winner?
135 times 80.
Okay, what are you other getting?
28.
That's only 3 or that's 8.
This one, 8.
Yeah.
What about how many, so we just do females, how many males like fall?
I mean, middle.
Oh, I missed one. How many females were cold? Yeah, what's 50% of 80? What's half of 80? 40. Cool. Next one, how many males like fall?
0.5.
Times 80. What are you guys getting? 4. How many females like summer?
0.15.
Mm-hmm. Times what?
Times 40.
Yep. What are you guys getting?
12.
And then, how many people total were surveyed? 80. Woo, cool. All right, I want you guys to try the last one. We'll give you a few minutes, like 5 minutes. I want you to try the last one. It's exactly the same thing. It's just different numbers. So this example 2. So first you need to figure out how many total there were, and then you just multiply that total by the probability. Does everyone know where to start to find the total amount of people? I'm going to lag behind you. So try to look at the one above, and I'm going to lag behind you for that. Just that part. Just that part. So what you should have done already, I'm lagging behind you. I'm not doing it for you. What you should have done already is, given 6 males like music, 6. That's the first thing you should have done.
And then you put 6 on top and then put X at the bottom. And then you put X right here. And then you cross that out.
You got it.
Six over X equals 0.6.
Mm-hmm.
6 over X is 0.6.
Yep. when I write it, it's part out of whole, part out of total,
And then I do 16 over X again. Equals to, I'm like, so I put 0.7 right here, and then I put like, okay. Divided by 0.7.
no, it's whatever that first one is. Even the 6 now, but let's go email.
It's 160.
You're always taking it off.
16 divided by 0.7. Okay. How is it?
Oh, I see it. Mine.
My usually is 16. Oh. What is it? It's 60, right? She said 6. Now, the number you put instead of 6. That's what you put.
Next thing you should have done was start multiplying by x.
How many times is that?
What? So now we need for each of those decimals.
0.25.
Kayla, what do I end up getting for x?
That's the,
60. Did everyone get that? When I divide this by 0.10,
Yes.
you get 60? That means my total is 60. So that means for each of the decimals that they want me to find, what do I multiply them by? 60. Yep. So like how many males are surveyed? I would find the males. What's the decimal of the males?
0.7. Oh, wait, for which one?
The first one.
Oh.
Oh my god, I can't do this, man.
Oh.
Males, 40. And then what do I multiply it by? Wait, 0.40 because that's the total males.
0.6.
How many males were surveyed? It's 40 times. What do you end up getting?
What? 24. Is this right? Wait. Who can tell me what I write down for the second one? Gabrielle, go there. Gabrielle's gonna go first. Oh, 0.15.
Times what? What do you get?
Oh, 15.
15?
No, like,
Oh, erase 8. 0.15 times 60, what do you end up getting?
I got 9.
9. Did everyone get that?
Yes.
Beautiful. All right, keep going. You're just multiplying all the decimals now times your total, which is 60.
That's for number 3, right?
That was for 2.
92?
Yes.
Wait,
You all
92?
got,
I did not.
Number 2.
multiplying, you're just multiplying the two
Every
numbers.
single one.
Number
You
2.
don't have, you don't do the whole table, just like for answer.
Oh.
No, he
So some people just do it automatically, like they go through and multiply each one and get the answer, then they answer the question.
Yeah, that's more.
Was it? Number 3 is 0.15.
How much?
No, number 2. Yeah, number 3.
This one's 15. What's 4? Did you get 4 yet?
I got 30.
It's 30.
And then
forget how to do this?
Yeah.
All right, y'all, I think y'all are ready for the quiz.
Yeah, we're ready.
No, we're not.
We're ready.
I'm ready.
What's marginal frequency?
Marginal frequency, the outside.
What's joint frequency?
Inside, inside.
Help them say more about what two homes say the outside. That's
One-
why a lot of people get it.
What is conditional? 'Cause if
The
I,
inside.
if I had like,
Marginal is the outside, joint frequencies make up the data, and conditional frequencies out of the.
conditional is like out of the marginal. So like,
That's doing?
so conditional is like the joint divided by the marginal. So usually it's like, if I said like, how many males, out of the males who likes music, I would look at out of the males, so the total of the males, and then just whoever likes music, that's divided by that. So conditional is a certain condition. Relative, what's relative frequency? This, related to the total.